What's up, everybody? I am Steve, and with me, as always, is.
The
And you are watching Conversations with Cabys, the only show on the internet that you should give a folk about. That's right, that cringy dad joke only means one thing. We talk about folk music today. And I'm not going to say folk music because folk music it does a disservice to folk. We're cherry picking very interesting music that we find in the bluegrass and folk realm. I don't claim to be an expert on folk music. It's not my jam, really. It isn't. A lot of it isn't my jam. I don't D.
I concur with you 100%. I can appreciate it for what it is, and I enjoy a lot of different tracks from various folk and bluegrass artists. But yeah, it's not our everyday rider. It's not one thing we really focus on.
I mean, we're kind of alternative and grungy rock folk. That's kind of just the way we roll. Hence the flannel.
Just
But
rock in general.
right,
It's just that's us.
yeah, but see, the fun thing about this, all these are kind of cherry picked things we're going to talk about, are cherry picked things that I dig on in this genre, and it's more about the principal backing flavors of bluegrass and folk, the things that they can bring, I think, to rock music, is what's interesting about today's topic. I think we can draw from this and maybe hopefully come to a better understanding about what rock music could become in the future, because I don't feel like a lot of bands do what folk bands do, which is
And I'd like to also,
go ahead.
I'd also like to say that it's almost like some of the stuff we'll be talking about today is like a modern interpretation of what folk music can
100%.
be and is.
And a lot with that being, we would call that a subgenre of indie folk, really, like Americana folk or
I
rock,
like that.
indie
I
folk,
like that.
and that's really what it's been coined as, and it fits the bill a lot. Um, but I want to touch base on a couple really interesting bands to kind of start it off with. One of them being Butterfly Launchers from Sparpole. It's Chris Novoselic's other band. Okay, so Chris Novoselic has a couple bands that he does, and he was the former bassist of Nirvana. Nirvana's a far other topic that we can talk about later on. Obviously, everybody pretty much knows who Nirvana is. If you don't, I'm sorry that you don't, and you probably should, because they're good, if not commercialized and maybe a little bit played out as a band in general. But
I would agree with that.
Chris Novoselic has two new bands, and Chris was a fantastic drummer. Has done some things with Foo Fighters, done some things with Dave Grohl on various other songs, and one of them is Butterfly Launchers from Sparpole. This one isn't really my jam at all. I'm not. I like it for its principles. I like it for some of the guitar riffs and the fact that Chris plays guitar. And I really do like the accompaniment of Ray Prestigard. I'm probably not doing that right. Saying that like, I'm sorry, Ray. I apologize immensely for that. Um, Ray Prestigard is the guitar player. He does slide guitar. He also is in the other band, Giants in the Trees. Giants in the Trees is a band, Chris' band, that he formed in 2017 with some folk. Um, and they did like I think the album is called Sasquatch, or the single's called Sasquatch.
Yes.
Clearly they're from Washington, right? Washington State. They live in the north, so they probably like have the myth of the Sasquatch prevalent in their mind more so than our minds, because they're, that's where it was from, or kind of originated, I would guess. Um, and I think the Sasquatch is also an interesting topic that we'll probably talk about in a later podcast, one of our non-music podcasts. Just because the Sasquatch myth is interesting in general. But Sasquatch was a good song. Um, did you get to a chance to listen to any of the other ones, like Star Machine, or um, like Feel It Now is dope. Is a really really good
Yeah.
song.
So I actually you just sent me that one right
You're right.
before we got on here,
Yeah.
and I listened to that while I was eating, and that's probably my favorite one that I heard by them.
I like it because it's a female vocalist. Julian Ray is her name, female vocalist. And again, so the guy who's the slide guitar player and also
Mhm.
plays that square guitar by coincidence is Paul McCartney's guitar from
What?
the Sound City sessions.
with Dave Grohl.
with Dave Grohl in that Paul McCartney song that they did together, right?
Yeah. Okay.
That
Okay.
square guitar is the same guitar that Home Dog plays. Yes, mind fucking blown, right? It all comes together. Essentially,
Okay.
I will let everyone know that the Beatles come around in music no matter what you talk about because of the fucking Beatles. And I'm a Beatles man, not an Elvis man. I love Elvis, but the Beatles are the shit.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so throw that one out there as you
We
will.
have so much. We have so much to thank them for, and
Right.
their contributions to music.
Right. It's Beatles is a whole other episode as well. But anyway,
Yep.
that square guitar, same guitar with that funky ass sound, that fucking great tin canny, really high E, just sound. That great rock track, and it sounds. And when you listen to it next to a pedal steel, or a slide guitar, whichever flavor you want to call it, um, it sounds very similar. And I think that's probably why he chose that because his main instrument really is a pedal steel. I think they're a good band, and admittedly, they formed in 2017. So for this kind of indie folk, this alternative, and I feel like they're more probably in the realm of alternative rock, and they sound similar to Nirvana, like similar to like the experimental tracks from Nirvana, like Love Buzz or like those off the wall B sides. They sound
I
like that.
I will say like what I've noticed just from the two or three songs I heard because I even had a couple other songs autoplay as I was listening to
Okay.
it. By
Yeah.
can't tell you the names of them, but I would say I probably listened to at least three songs by him today. And the overall theme that I get is there's a lot of effects involved on most of the instruments. A lot of vocal effects, a lot of guitar effects, a lot of synthesizer and
Right.
their respective effects. But they use some interesting instruments. Like I think the one you sent me, the Feel It Now.
Uh huh.
I think that one had either a synthesized accordion or an
A
actual
synth,
accordion.
a synth. Well, it's an accordion probably with a synth pedal on the back end. But yeah, that's Chris. He plays an accordion too. He played accordion in Nirvana too. At the MTV Unplugged session, you saw him play for the first time, but he also played on a couple other tracks on various, I think, In Utero and Smells Like Teen Spirit. But yeah, I mean, he plays all kinds of shit. He's a really good musician. He plays. Oh, where did I see it at? Yeah, whatever. He plays guitar, bass, and accordion on that, and they're I feel like with the effects that you're pointing out, to me they bring a psychedelic vibe to this as well.
Yep.
That is not. It isn't all the way flushed out. Like, does their shit not feel like really raw to you?
It
And
does. It does feel like really raw. It feels like this was written maybe even during a trip or during you know, a session of some sort.
right, it's legal in Washington. They're perfectly and happy to imbue. That's their right. Um, it's interesting though that the psychedelic feel of I don't know if I'm down with it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like
Yeah.
Giants in the Tree. I like Giants in the Trees. I feel like they need another album or something or commitment. And maybe they're just kind of all too kind of old because they're all like older folk. They're in their mid 40s. They're just kind of too old to give it the same drive that you did when you were a passionate kid. So you just you're doing it for the love of the music and love of the creating the music, and I don't give a fuck what other people think, and that's a great mentality to have, but it's kind of convenient when you're trying to make music that other people like to listen to it.
Well, and the other guy. So I'd say the guitar player, or is that a bass? No, that's a bass player. The bass player and the singer are probably, you know, 40s, I would say. But the guy doing the steel guitar or the
Uh huh.
slide guitar and
Yeah.
the drums, those guys are probably 50s. That other guy looks like he's probably maybe 60.
The guitar player is probably the steel guitar player. The Ray Prestegard is at least in his. I would say he's probably in the 60s. Eric Friend, his last name is Friend. Eric Friend is behind the drum kit. He is, uh, he looks the youngest to me. He has that. Um, they had the album El Camino, Lonely Boy,
Oh.
Gold on the Ceiling,
Hold on. Black Keys.
Black Keys. Yeah, so the Black Keys drummer,
Yeah, very much so.
right?
Very
He
much
looks
so.
way older than he actually is.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of an age, just an old-looking young guy. I don't think he's young by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's probably the youngest in the band. If not, the lead singer is the youngest, Jillian there.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, Chris is what, 50 now, probably.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would imagine he's 50 now. I mean, whatever. If it's 50 is the new, 30 or whatever the fuck they call it. I don't. Who knows? Who knows? We'll all be robots soon enough, so it doesn't make a fucking difference. Um, I just feel like they're raw, and I feel like they need maybe another album to get flowing. With that being said, we have one other band that we're going to talk about that's kind of a celebrity based band, but I wanted to add in a similar band, the Fleet Foxes. They're an indie folk band that's been around for a long time. 2011. It looks 20, yeah, oh 06,
20.
I guess. Yeah, they first released their first album in 2011, but they've been around since '06. It looks like, according to the Wikipedia page. Lots of past members, 3 different past members, things like that. I listened to their track,
Excuse me.
Mykonas. I dug on it. And I think a thing we're going to get back to is harmonics. And I don't necessarily, this isn't the band to necessarily talk about it. I think the next one will be the band to talk about it. But it's
Yeah.
harmonics. It's what I really want to get across with this episode is the extreme lack of harmonics in music, and rock music specifically today. People not 2 and 3 part harmonies and backing vocals that are truly backing vocals that contribute to the benefit of the song, and is not just, could be, whether it's there or not, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
Irrelevant backing vocals.
in our normal genre of music, it is rare to have, multiple singers doing harmonies together and doing like intricate vocal work. Usually, if we have a backup singer or a couple backup singers, they're just doing like echoes or like, you know, a one line during the chorus, something like that.
Right, or one word during the chorus sometimes. And
Yeah.
that can be okay. That can be okay. It definitely works for Hobo Johnson. He's carved out a niche for that one word backing vocal. All 4 of the guys screaming the same word. That works really well for him, and it that kind of thing works well in rock. But I feel like if people started to, let's throw out a great band that again we'll have another episode about, um, uh, the Eagles, and
Ooh,
how
yeah.
we had 3 part harmonies abound with them, and they were better for it.
Absolutely.
I mean, the band it's an amazing, amazing band that is a culmination of all these. Because essentially, if you want to get technical, the Eagles were like one of the first super groups. I
And
mean,
if you want to get schooled on what true harmonies are, multi-part harmonies, Seven Bridges Road, Eagles, look it up.
done, done, done. And again, we'll talk about the Eagles later, so let's not get on
Yeah.
that one. But
But just to throw that out there for the people.
harmonics is the key here. Multiple part harmonies. And Fleet Foxes is fine. They're good, and I like their. But it's that part of indie pop and indie pop, indie folk, this indie bluegrass, this Americana genre that is. It makes me feel like these guys. And then this is gonna sound way fucking shitty, but it makes me feel like these guys, and gals, when they're writing their music, the lyrics are meaningful and matter, but they're not mulled over enough.
Like it's like almost like the rough draft lyrics versus
Right.
the finished product.
Exactly, sir. That is fucking money explanation. Like, thank you. That was perfect. That's
Gotcha, bro.
exactly. So, it's right in that pocket. It's like, dude, you need a producer, and everybody hates that fucking word, but I'm firmly for a producer, somebody in the back end who has the best interest of this album that says, hey, listen, not tighten up that hook, not you should add other shit here. It's you need this to sound money, and I feel like it can go a certain way if you did this.
Yeah.
or you know what I mean. You always need that guiding force whenever you're in a scope of an album like that, and a good producer, Rick Rubin, things like that can do that for you. And I feel like Fleet Foxes have never had a really solid producer to help them out, because every song I heard, I heard just in the ear, a word in the ear. It's like, fuck, that's a bad choice. Fuck, that's a bad choice. And I mean,
Hmm.
I have a really decent memory, especially for lyrics. So I'm kind of like an encyclopedia o lyric, and
Right.
and that shit. So I feel like I have the fucking cojones and the experience to know that fuck, like whenever it hits my ear like that, that's a bad choice. You should have checked that up. You should have. That wasn't good. No, fix that one. Like you need that production in the back end that has that kind of ear that can pick out and pinpoint those things that are going to be abrasive. And sometimes abrasion is fine, and sometimes we need that abrasion in tracks. But every time it's like it's a rough draft of lyrics. Perfect money explanation. Rough draft of lyrics. So that's Fleet Foxes, in my opinion. Your thoughts on them?
Yeah. I listened to the song, the same one you did, the
Yeah,
Mykonos,
yeah. I think that's what's called.
something like that.
Yeah,
And I guess I would have to have a similar explanation. I wasn't thoroughly impressed. Again, it's not my genre of music, typical style of music,
right.
but it does fall into that, almost like what I was saying earlier, that modern folk poetry. You kind of I think you explained it as like spoken word almost to music.
Well, I mean, Butterfly launches over the spar pole is spoken word. Like
Yeah.
literally, that's what they do. So I feel like they are honing in on that folk side of things, and at least presenting themselves in a light of, hey, this is exactly what we're doing. Whereas I feel like Fleet Foxes is not. They don't own up to that.
Yeah. Like I said, it was a little bit, kind of droney, I guess, if I could use that word.
Hmm.
So, some of the lyrics just kind of
Very
monotone,
Bob Dylan, but not as good.
but not that voice, not that Bob Dylan
Well,
voice
not the
either.
yeah, not the drone. And Bob, that's part of what made Bob Dylan's drone acceptable after a period of time, because you got used to the uniqueness of his timbre, and without that, you're just a gnat in my fucking ear.
All
And
right,
then you
get away,
fucking
shoo.
choose the wrong fucking words, and it's just like you're poking me in the ear. It's like fuck that, dude. I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
But
So
talent, like
not to
musically talented,
yes, musically talented. Yes, not to bag on these guys. This is just a preliminary listen to one song. There could be other tracks that have
right? 100%.
different effect.
I listened
So
to a couple others that weren't. This was the best out of the bunch, and I chose. I think I chose the top five on YouTube for them. So
all
this
right,
was the best out of the bunch. And I mean, that's. But again, dude, and I want to stress this to everybody. This is not our bag. This is not. But again, I want to say, somebody could say, well, what the fuck's the point? Why are you talking about folk? Well, we're talking about folk because there's a message here within this folk, this genre, that I would love for everybody in rock to get onto. And with that being said, we're going to go to the next one, and that is our next celebrity band, Mr. John Reilly and the Friends,
and Friends. Yes.
which is we saw this now. Ultimately, we saw this like 2 weeks ago when it went viral, but it's from 2015.
No, it's older than that.
It's February 3rd, 2015 was when this was posted on NPR.
I thought I saw something from 2013 earlier.
I did. You did. That Black Cab Sessions was from 2013.
Okay, yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
saw. The
yeah.
Black Cap
So the
session.
Black Cab Session was a song called Roseanne,
Roseanne.
which was
Roseanne.
magnificent. It was a great track. It's John C. fucking Reilly, Mr. Wreck-It Ralph himself, the other stepbrother.
The other stepbrother.
I
Yep.
mean, Will Ferrell's right-hand man is an amazing vocalist. He fucking can sing. This dude, he
Out
in
of.
this range can fucking sing and play.
Mm-hmm.
A fine rhythm guitarist, especially
Very.
with those staccato rhythms that are in a lot of these, is and sing to that is a tough. That's tough. That's not
Yeah.
hard or not easy to do. And he does it with ease. And the let me just read off the NPR description. It may be
Huh.
easy to dismiss a music project from actor John Reilly, but that would be a huge mistake. Reilly is a fine singer, especially when he gets a hold of old-time material, and his guitar work provides a perfect foundation for these church and porch tunes from America's past. Reilly's eclectic choice of collaborators speaks to his passion and dedication. Tom Brozia and Becky Stark are no strangers to folk tradition. Brozia's striking voice was first heard on NPR. He did a Tiny Desk thing earlier in the year. And Becky Stark, was a singer that is called Lavender Diamond. She's been in other country acts, bluegrass acts. It's just a fucking it's amazing. And yes, they are old church hymns, and yes, they are old like folky porch tunes. Shit, that at night, Grandpa would get the fucking guitar out and you'd sing these things.
Yeah,
as a family, which, I mean, in certain ways, I feel like is missed. I mean, I feel like that could be a part of our life still with our electronic and digital life. Not to say that I want to fucking, I mean, not to say that we all should live on farms and shit, but
right.
I feel like that connection, that musical connection, is sorely missed today, and it needs to be, would be well to be revived. And this kind of thing would be well to be revived. The only reason why he's singing these songs is because they're the songs that do this, and that is 3-part harmony.
Yep.
A fucking 100%. This
Absolutely.
is some of the tightest 3-part harmony I've heard in a new video of something in a fucking long time. A really long time.
What I'm blown away is that how he was able to keep a rap on this for so many years. Like if he's been together collaborating with these other folks and doing this music together since 2013.
I mean, clearly, there's a reason why this went viral last week or whatever. Like, this went viral on NPR. Like, I saw it on YouTube via NPR, and everybody it went viral that same, like, day, basically. Because I started seeing it pop up in all kinds of other places.
But wasn't that NPR from 2015?
It is NPR. That's what I'm saying. He recorded this shit in 2015. Nobody fucking knew. Nobody gave a fuck about it, and it went viral last week. That's the fucking internet, man. That's what's crazy about this shit.
Wow.
This choice goodness I would have fucking devoured in 2015.
Absolutely.
I just now found out about it because it went viral and I found it. I mean, not that I don't subscribe to Tiny Desk, and there's a reason why I saw it probably, like, I was at the starting point of the viralness of it, but I don't know why they chose to fucking hype this algorithm right now. Why this was not hyped earlier. It's insane to me.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. And like I said, just a very odd surprise. And, I would almost say that's a great, the church / porch music / folk music / even a little bit of country as well.
Well, a lot of this you'll find that, especially with a couple of the other bands, that they get Grammys in country. It's bluegrass and country because those are what the Academy gives a fuck about, I guess. Or
right, they recognize that as part of the group.
Right. And yeah, but it's old country, and old country was just old music. And I don't country. See, if you classify it as country now, there's a stigma in your mind about it. You assume it's to this country then. So that's why I way prefer to call it folk or Americana. Americana is a perfect fucking explanation for a lot of this kind of shit. The front porch music, that's Americana. I mean, you can't classify that as country because there wasn't enough genres to start classifying music yet. Rock really wasn't around yet.
No.
I mean, it hadn't started yet. They hadn't started doing the little bus tours around the big cities in the Midwest and shit with Little Richard and fucking Elvis and Johnny Cash and
you're talking
Loretta Lynn doing the early ones.
You're talking the early 1900s.
Yeah, I mean 1920s. Of these Depression era music, like 1920 stuff.
Any of these people that would have revolutionized music weren't around yet.
Right. Well, and they hadn't any. This is the basis. This type of Depression era music, where all we had was the house that we live in, the guitar that we have, and this is our fucking entertainment, is singing as a family or musicating as a family. That is where Johnny Cash learned it. That's where that's where Little Richard learned it. That's where Elvis learned it. That's where these guys picked it up at. I mean,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have had it if it wasn't for that stuff, and there wasn't anything before that for a previous generation to grow from, and it had to be this way, and it's just interesting that this is one of the oldest forms of music, if not the oldest form of music, as far as music that we can Americana type music, American music that we can classify and signify ourselves, other than operatic, and obviously all the other European styles of music that are orchestral and things like that. But
Yeah, I feel like that was a good point too with the opera, is like the whole harmony thing. You don't get that a lot anymore in music, and the only times you would get something like that is in a duet or a trio of an opera,
sure,
or an orchestra like setting where you
right,
have like a choir singing.
right, 100%, yeah.
You don't get it with traditional, conventional, mainstream music.
And
There's
that's what
not
I'm
a lot of
saying.
that.
It's why that seems so strange to me, that you have this resource, this untapped resource, that is this old, that you're not that we're not doing in our music right now. We will make the fattest riffs to try to sound different. But you give me four on the floor with a simple fucking guitar riff with three people that can sing well together,
Yes.
and some meaningful lyrics, I don't give a fuck what you're playing. I
We're
don't
down.
really care.
Riders out.
Right. It's about the experience, and it's not the fat riff. It's not, and I mean, I love Avenged Sevenfold, and I love the guitar solos, and I love all that. But if all three of those dudes sang together, sans drummer, because the drummer's just insane. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's too insane.
You just gotta stop.
You got enough going on, buddy. You're
Right.
all right.
Yep, you're good. You have 6 things already going on over there. You fucking keep to that, okay? Let these guys fucking work it out. But if there was some 3-part harmony in some of those choruses, imagine Avenged Sevenfold metal with 3-part harmony.
But they do to an extent. They have the two guys in the background going, ooh,
Sure,
while
that's
he's
not
singing,
the same thing.
But it's not what we're talking about
That
here.
is
That's
not what.
totally
That is
different.
backing vocals that could be there or not be there. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference. 3-part harmony is required reading. You have to have it to get through this song. If it's not there, the song sounds like shit, or not shit, but way less than.
It sounds like it's missing something.
Right. We're missing 2 things, depending upon if it's 2-part or 3-part. I mean, and 4-part harmony is Beach Boys shit, which is hard. There's a reason why the Beach Boys were pretty much the only band who did it. It's because it's fucking hard to sync 4 parts together. It's also really hard to write 4 different vocal parts. Yeah. I mean, so I get that there's that struggle too. There's a certain.
Don't forget about Boys to Men,
Okay, sorry. Let me break that with R&B. I apologize. Like halfway through this episode, all the R&B folk are going to be like, "You fucking douches." Of course, we got harmony. I get that. I get that R&B and soul has harmony. Let me take a step back with that. But
we're talking.
I'm talking about rock.
Today's mainstream music.
Right. True.
Period.
True. Well, I mean, yeah, true. 100%. There are definitely subgenres of everything that have harmony, but I would say that harmony is one of the most lacking in music, and most definitely in mainstream music.
Yes.
Can you think of anything else other than R&B and soul in actual music? I'm not talking about operas or orchestrated music. Can you think about anything else that has harmonies in it? Anything? Not a fucking one. Lot. Not a fucking one. It doesn't happen because it's hard. I get that it's hard, but it's worth it, and 2, it's also hard to write that. I mean, it really is. You don't have a lot of songwriters that are writing in 3-part harmony because it's hard to write in 3-part harmony, which is why I think let's start simple. Let's get 2-part harmonies.
Oh,
but Avenged Sevenfold has the ability to do. Avenged Sevenfold has the ability to do 3-part. But yeah,
I just thought of another one. Dixie Chicks.
I agree, and I'm certain that there is also country music that has it. But that's what's also interesting about the Dixie Chicks. They went so far as to be 3 women in a band, which is hard to do. It's hard in mainstream. It's just hard. Call it sexism, call it whatever the fuck you want. It's just hard for 3 women to make it in in
And be as
music.
utterly successful as they were in the 90s and
Amazing.
early 2000s.
And I mean, if honestly, I feel like they just grew tired of each other, honestly, at that point. Because they were kind of different opinions, but their harmonies were amazing. And so
Yeah.
to be three women in a band and then decide, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna do 3-part harmony too, and I'll play the fucking fiddle. We're good with that. I'll play the banjo. I'm good with that. And then I'll
Right.
go ahead and play a fucking slide guitar. Okay, sure. Fucking no, they were fucking awesome. But that's also comes into the country, which also wraps into kind of the bluegrass mentality. So it's okay. Like you see these overarching things within country music, and that's why you get Grammys in country music when you write songs like this.
But you're also getting into the whole thing of like we're talking about old artists. Dixie Chicks aren't around anymore. Boys to Men.
That was 20 years ago. That was
I don't think they're around anymore.
20, 30 years ago. You know what I mean?
And we're talking about again. That comes back to the point. Current mainstream
Right,
media.
right. To the
Well,
point,
music.
it needs
just
to
not
be
there.
addressed. Yeah, it needs to be addressed. It needs to be put in. So I highly recommend everybody check out the Tiny Desk for John Reilly and Friends, and go ahead and look him up on YouTube. Unfortunately, Mr. John Reilly doesn't have anything. He doesn't have a Twitter for John Reilly and Friends. He doesn't have. I think he honestly wants you to look up everybody individually and follow them individually because he feels so passionate about his friends' work. I think that's half of what this is him just trying to, help out his friends in part of this, which is great. I mean, I love John Reilly. He's fucking amazing. He can do no wrong, in my opinion. Love the guy. So do please check him out. NPR, YouTube. I think I'm probably going to go ahead and throw in the description some of these videos that we're referencing here, just so it's easy for you guys to check it out.
That'd be a good idea.
But
we got all the links ready to go.
Yeah, I have everything ready too. So back into the mainstream side of things, I want to talk about another one that's really mainstream, like the mainstream of mainstream, and that's Mumford and Sons.
Mumford and Sons.
They also do a fine 3-part harmony. It's a really fine 3-part harmony. Some would say amazing.
And you could definitely throw them in there in the Americana / folk genre. I mean,
fuck yeah.
But they do it so well. I mean, so well.
So I sent you Dust Bowl Dance.
Yes.
That's probably my favorite song by them.
That was the first time I've heard that song.
Did you feel the lyrics of that song?
I will say it was in the car. I was trying to listen to it as much as I could. I heard the music behind it. The music was great. I did hear some of the lyrics. Some of the lyrics were very good. I need to give it a few more listens because, like anything,
right. Let me break this down for you. Let me break this down for you because I feel there's a reason why Dust Bowl Dance is here. There's a couple of reasons. One, it's a Mumford and Sons song, and a Mumford and Sons fits into this like a fucking glove. And they're probably the best modern representation of what the fuck I'm trying to talk about here with harmonics and 3-part harmonies and harmonies in general, and just fucking amazing music in this realm.
Yes.
And what it can be brought and what they do, because they certainly add some rock flair to their tracks, and especially on the end of this particular track. That's also probably why I love it as much as I do, because they go to fucking town at the end of this song. The reason this song is about it's about a man who his father left him his farm in the middle of essentially the Dust Bowl, Great Depression. The ground went to dust. He lost everything. A man came to try to take his fucking land, and he shot and killed him.
All right.
It's a deep fucking track, and touches on a lot of things. Like it's a great song. A great song. Very, very meaningful and powerful. And touches on what this shit is about. This is what these fucking people lived through. That's why there's so much passion in these 3-part harmonies. This is how they got this out. Was by singing their fucking ass off. Because they were in the middle of shit. They were in the middle of a government that wasn't helping them, in the middle of a world that didn't want them fucking there at the time. I mean,
and just a more primitive way of life.
Well, and then when you go to California and get taken advantage of, 25 cents a day to pick grapes, your whole family gets 25 cents a day and you work in work camps like you're fucking in Auschwitz. I mean, obviously Auschwitz was worse than isn't. Right. But it was bad.
Not to detract anything
Sure.
from the horrible Holocaust
Right.
situation.
But it was fucking bad. I mean, people were getting taken advantage of by rich people. It was a very, very bad time. And it's a very powerful song and hits on everything that this Americana genre has to offer and what you can pull from. I feel like it's a great example of where you can pull for a lot of this stuff and make the reason why you're going the way you're going pertinent and important.
Yeah, I feel like when I hear some Mumford and Sons songs, like I feel like some of them, the more positive, uplifting ones, which there's not a whole lot of, but
Right.
the ones that are a little more upbeat, up tempo.
Right.
Like I would hear that if I was in like Ireland or Scotland at a pub, and like I could see these guys playing on a little slightly raised stage, wooden stage in an Irish pub with the
Right.
fucking drinks a pour and a plenty,
Right.
matey,
Right.
fucking, and that's the kind of music that
Some
I
Hellcat Maggie's
enjoy.
Irish whiskey is
There you
flowing,
go.
and I mean things are rocking. Right.
That couldn't be a more perfectly timed. That I didn't even work it out that way. That just happened.
That just happened. That's what we do on Conversation with Cabys. Things just naturally happen.
I do. But no, I agree. Mumford and Sons near and dear to my heart. Obviously, their big hit songs are "Little Lion Man" and
The Cave, Sigh No More is good.
"I Will Wait."
I Will Wait. Yeah, yeah. Those which are great tracks. Don't get me wrong, but Dust Bowl Dance is by far my favorite because of the substance of the track, and also it is a track that starts out with a beautiful piano intro. And ends with them beating the shit out of their instruments.
I'll say it's a very slow introduction into this song.
Oh yeah,
Very slow.
but it melts.
It builds and
It
builds and
melts
compounds.
right, and then melts your face. And then he comes back at the end, and he said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was me. I killed that son of a bitch. He tried to take my fucking land."
Yeah.
It's a brilliant song. Brilliant song. I prefer that track live because you get what the song is about live. If you can watch that video of them playing it, the link will be in the description for the one I prefer. It's Lollapalooza in Chile 2016.
Yeah.
It is,
And you hear him say, muchas gracias at the end.
right. Yeah, which is fine, but you get the scope of what he's and the emotion, the raw emotion from this one. So that's a great modern day representation of what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Another good one that unfortunately isn't with us anymore is the Civil Wars. This is a duo, so we're talking about two-part harmonies here, of Joy Williams, a female, and John Paul White, male. He looks a shit ton like Jack White.
I was just going to say
I
the
do not
same
think
thing.
they're related. I don't think they're related, but he looks a shit ton like Jack White. It does not say anything about the Wikipedia that they're related, and I would assume it does. But they met. They both had solo careers prior to meeting in 2008 in Nashville. They met at it's like a songwriting camp or like a workshop where you as songwriters can go in and meet with people and kind of work out songs together and make stuff up on the fly. It's like a collaboration event to work out, trying to find probably just try to drum up new bands because Nashville, everybody fucking goes into Nashville. So you have to have these kind of workshops for these artists to meet up with each other to kind of get shit, because they aren't going to meet up naturally, organically, right? So they met that way and it worked and they worked out. The personalities, from what I understand, is the reason for their demise. They kind of conflicted. One's like, they're kind of like oil and water in that sense. But in the process of the 2 years they were together, they made 2 albums and was great. If you've heard of them, you've heard of Barton Holler, or Barton Hollow. Sorry, Holler. That's a Midwest thing. Hello, comes out every once in a while when I drink Irish whiskey. Barton Hollow is a great track, and it really shows off this 2-part harmony like I'm talking about. Really shows it off. And you've heard that one, right?
I want to say that's one of the songs I've heard. Now, when I say I've heard those songs, it has been a minute. because usually when I heard those songs, you and I were hanging out.
Right. Yeah. Because yeah. Sure.
You got big into them for a little while.
Oh, I liked them a lot because you know me and chick bands, dude. Like I fucking love chick bands. Anytime a female vocalist is on the mic and are halfway fucking decent, I will
Yeah,
eat that shit up.
yeah,
Because it's rare. It never fucking happens. So I love it. I fucking love it. So they really intrigued me in that sense. And then they were a duet who fucking, and I've always been like into folk, like into that aspect of folk, the really good aspects of folk, because folk can get bogged down by its own elitism. It's a very indie genre. It's like designed for indie
yes,
people. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
hipster indie people that just are like, no, it's mainstream. I don't want it, and no, no, no.
We're gonna we'll do it. We'll do it the way we want to do it. It'll be
Right.
different and unique in
Get
our
my.
way.
I'll put my Birkenstocks on, and I'm going out of here. No, but fucking, and that's what I don't like about folk. I don't like that oppression that you try to get from it. It's a genre that everybody can like, and there are certain
Love you
things about.
guys.
Love you guys. Right. You guys are great. And you are. It's fine. I get that you're digging on it, and and it's fine to have that passion. I'm not trying to shit on that passion at all, but don't shit on the fact that mainstream can like it too. It's cool. It's fine. You know what that means? That they're
Right.
good at what they're doing,
Yeah.
and that's okay to be
If you
that
get
good at
on
your craft.
mainstream airwaves or mainstream viral videos or songs on iTunes or whatever, then
It doesn't
that's a
mean you're
good
less
thing.
than. Yeah, it doesn't mean you're less than. It means that you're doing it right and doing something right.
And I would just like to say that I think it is amazing that we live in a day and age to where if you are extremely talented and you can, scrounge together the means to put together a decent quality video or recording of yourself and or your group or whoever you are, whatever talent it is that you have, comedy, music, art, whatever it is. If you can somehow scrounge together, put that on the internet, YouTube, other social media platforms, but particularly YouTube,
Right.
that you can just all of a sudden just blow up overnight. I think
The viral aspect of digital media is fucking amazing to me.
yeah,
I love it. It's very very cool, and it allows us all to experience something as a collective in a certain way that's really neat and unique, only to this type of medium. And I dig on that too. I dig on that too. Um, but anyway, so with that being said, their folk aspect of it is very folk. Like these guys are great, and I've dug on them a lot. Barton Hollow is the single you probably know. Their cover of Billie Jean was also very the
yeah,
Michael Jackson hit, the Billie Jean, and Michael Jackson's probably in that R&B and subgenre topic that we'll talk about in another episode later on, I would imagine. Poison and Wine is a good one, and then From the Valley is also another good one. So they had four probably really solid songs, a couple covers that were good. They did a cover of Disarm that was fine. Disarm is so here's the deal with Smashing Pumpkins. Smashing Pumpkins are already slow tempo. So when you try to folk up a Smashing Pumpkin song, you're simply dropping tempo more,
and it just
and
becomes a
it's
slow, drawn
and then
out.
I'm just falling asleep. Like it
Yeah,
really, like you're just setting people up to pass out. And not that I don't like the track, and I do. There are certain instances where that track could probably make you weep, but there are also instances where it definitely could make you fall asleep. So it's just one of those tough times. Like that's a tough cover. You know what I mean?
weeping and sleeping.
Weeping and sleeping. You know how we do. Uh, so with that being said, Civil Wars were great. Like I said, they broke up. They were only active for a couple years. Well, it says 2009 to 2014, but the albums came out in 2011 and 2013, I think. So take that as you will. The next ones, I think, we got two more to run through. And what I want to talk about with these guys are the potential of these guys because they're fairly new bands, and I'm not
Mm,
sure how much. I mean, they're definitely not, but I feel like they're coming into their own. The first one I want to talk about is a band called The Dead South, and I came across these guys about 3 years ago, probably. And they're good. They're really good bluegrass. I don't think they are where they need to be yet with writing, especially
yeah,
lyrically.
yeah,
Musically, they're pretty damn good, but lyrically, I think they're not where they need to be quite yet. There's a track, the recap, which is good. There's a track, In Hell I'll Be in Good Company, which is a really good song. Those two songs are like fucking fire. They show
Yeah.
the potential of what this band can be, 100%.
So I will say about a year ago, I heard "In Hell I'll Be in Good Company." It
Mm-hmm.
was just a random video that just showed up in my Facebook news feed, and I
Mm-hmm.
listened to it, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty dope." But I will say the way it starts out with the one guy whistling,
Uh-huh.
like that was a rough whistle.
And there, and again, that comes down to production. There are choices that these guys make, and we're going to talk about this with the next band too, because they're self-produced. Um,
Yes,
that
and that's what I like.
I do like that about them. But let's the Dead South. I don't think is. I don't know.
But
I don't know. But anyway, they're rough, but they're what it can be.
and
I
I
feel like.
think I think yeah, I do agree. Like I did hear the song that you shared with me by them,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, that was funny because I was like, I recognize these guys. I haven't heard the song you shared me, but I was like, I
Right.
recognize these voices, and I'm like, that's that one song. What's that one
Mm-hmm.
song? You know, and I flipped through and I'm like, related videos. I'm like, that's it right there. And hell, I'll be in good company. I'm like, I
Right.
know I've heard it before, and I just thought that was interesting that through no fault of either one of us, we came across this band at a previous juncture.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. Sure, sure, sure. I want to say that, yeah, I thought I talked to you about In Hell I'll Be Good Company too a couple years prior to that too. But anyway, regardless, that one came out in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where I pretty much picked them up. And I want to say that I caught it in like 2015, 2016 or something, that song.
Yeah,
And then this is a newer one. But it shows the potential of their newer stuff and the production of their newer stuff, which is good. I like production. I'm happy with production. I think that's good to try to get more professional with what you're trying to do. But you
yeah,
also, I think the lyrics need to be a little tighter. That's all I'm saying with
yeah.
them.
I musically, I enjoyed the song, the recap,
Mm-hmm.
but I I would like to hear other songs by them, just to explore their you know current selections a little more and see what they have to offer because I do like what I've heard so far.
They're Canadian, which is cool too. And
Canadian, eh?
yeah, Canadian. Sorry. Um, so they're really good. I dig them. And again, they're folky bluegrassy. I would say that they're probably indie folk, maybe closer to the bluegrass genre. Maybe if you could go indie bluegrass, they would be that probably. I haven't heard that one coined yet, but because I feel like they're more bluegrass
Mhm.
than folk in that
Yeah.
sense. They do have a stand-up bass, which is dope. Always love a good stand-up bass. Stand-up bass
Mhm.
players. If you're a stand-up bass player, that means you can play the bass really well. Like that generally is what that means. Because the stand-up bass is fretless and it's hard to hit the right note.
Mhm.
Because it's much like a violin in that way. So it's a truly traditional instrument, and um, we like stand-up bassists. They're good,
Yeah.
and that generally means you're also a pretty decent band and you write fairly well. Because if you have a stand-up bass in the party, at least somebody knows how to read music generally.
Yep.
So so
And write music
and
probably as well.
right. So that's good, and I'm sure all these guys can do that. So we like them a lot, and Dead South is one to definitely in the future to keep a lookout for. But it's not necessarily if you don't dig on them, dig on the fact that they have these harmonies and they also have this musicality that needs to be implemented in other genres. Imagine other bands with this kind of musicality. Imagine other bands with these kind of harmonies. That's really what you need to focus on
Yep.
with a lot of this, and that's kind of what I want to pull out of a lot of this. And the last one, the one we're going to close on, is the Native Howl. It is a band right around the Dead South. Really, when I found Dead South, I found these guys. Um, they've been together since 2013. They recorded their album in the lead singer's studio. So he made a studio. They self-produced the album. They did it. This is an interesting way of doing it, in the way that if Daniel and I made an album, we would make it. This is how we would do it. Um, we would fucking build our own goddamn studio and just make the motherfucker. That's how we would do it. And
Oh
I
yeah.
like that. I read an interview. They worked in construction. Alex Holy Cross did work in construction. I want to say it was construction. Anyway, saved up the money, made his own studio, and the story ends. And that's where they have recorded both albums. So they have two albums. One came out in 2018, July 27th, 2018, and well, they have let's scratch that. They have four albums, but the ones with like the big songs are Thrashgrass and Out of the Garden and Into the Darkness.
2016 looks like.
Yeah, 2016 was Thrashgrass, and that had this song I'm referencing here, "Leavin' My Home," and it's a song that they wrote kind of in tribute to this band, the Gasoline Gypsies, who are another kind of indie folk band that they or thrash metal, thrashgrass kind of band, because they've kind of formed their own genre, if you will. It's a mix of bluegrass music, folk music, and metal. So their riffs are fat fucking riffs that are done on acoustic guitars all the time, and mandolins and fucking dope ass shit like that, right? And then the fucking banjo has fucking fat ass fucking riffs. You remember when I fucking sent you that link to the fucking them live?
No, I didn't. I didn't see a link for these guys, but I do remember seeing the native Howl. You showed me that we've watched this video for Leaving My Home a bunch.
A bunch, because it's a great fucking track. I love this song. I want to say it was 2015 that I found these guys, and it was basically based upon this. Yeah, because this came out. It may have been 2016 because this came out in December. But I saw it. The story may be actually that I saw these guys play on something in like the fall of 2015, and then this fucking came out live after I'd subscribed to them, and I saw this. I want to say that that's actually how that went down. But regardless, known them for a bit, like their shit. Again, this song is tight as fuck lyrically and great, but it's a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, but this one I would not classify this one under the folk Americana kind of genre. This is more.
Hits hard. This hits hard on rock. I will agree with that. But there's banjo in here. There's a little banjo in it. There's harmonica in it. I mean, there's a little bit. They play the band itself though is very much. If you listen to their live, they did a Michigan public access, like the college public access show. And it's a pretty decent video, and I'll see if I can find it and put it in the description. But it was good. It showed off how they play, and I don't even think "Leaving My Home" was one of the songs they played on it. It was all other things, other tracks from Thrashgrass.
So that's, I guess, is that what they're trying to
quantify it as? Yes. Thrash metal and bluegrass. So Thrashgrass.
Gotcha.
They've coined the genre themselves, and that's cool. I get that, but I think it's almost like they're put away the showmanship of it, or the charade of it, or the vaudeville-ness of what I'm trying to make here.
Vaudeville, whoa.
You know what I'm saying? Like how
kicking it old school.
Like, well, I mean, we are talking Americana, so I figured it was apt. But seriously though, the skits, the satire of what they're trying to make here, and let's get back. You have a really good opportunity to do what the fuck I'm talking about. If you mix, this is exactly what I'm talking about, and I feel like you're not doing it justice. Not doing it as much justice as it should. Your shit is great. The songs are really good, right? But it needs to be tightened up. And I do say that Harvest of Constant Sorrow and the Harvester of Constant Sorrow, the mashup, they did it. They released a song in 2019, which was a mashup of Metallica's Harvester of Sorrow and The Man of Constant Sorrow from Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
Oh, wow.
A mashup of it, and it's pretty fucking good. But Alex's vocal patterns.
I need to listen to that.
It's really good. It's Alex's vocal patterns, the lead singer's vocal patterns in certain aspects of it are I don't know, two country maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's just a weird. It's something that he does that's weird. That is interesting. It's almost too country or too hitchy, too long. Like he lengthens certain notes too long. I feel like because it's the pattern of the bluegrass. He's trying to genreify the music rather than making the music come naturally. If does that make sense?
He's trying to force his lyrics into a his square lyrics into a round genre hole.
Right. He's trying to force the genre on the lyrics. Right. He's trying to force the genre of this thrash grass that I want to create onto these lyrics. And it's not. It needs to happen organically. Like there can be, even if I'm trying to be thrashy metal, my fat riffs are what tell me that's thrash metal. My fat fucking riffs do that. I don't need to always be screaming. I can roll into certain things. Metallica does it fucking well. And anybody who shits on, I mean, I shit on Metallica, but that's because Lars is a douchebag and really can't drum. But they're a decent band. I mean, Metallica is a fucking fine band. They play. I mean, Kurt Hammett is amazing. There's like,
Yeah.
James Hetfield when he's drunk can write awesome. That's a joke, but he can. He used to write well. I mean, he doesn't so much anymore. But I think he's also jaded a bit. I mean, if you were that fucking shit on all the time, how well would you write? I mean,
Well, and you've been around for 40 years.
and we're
Jesus.
not kids anymore, and the passion's probably not there. And it's a brand, not a band, as I was talking about earlier.
Yes, well, that was
But
last episode.
but I'm was that last episode or the episode before? I think it was the episode before.
Two episodes
Two
ago.
episodes. But regardless, that's the point I'm trying to make. And I think these guys can really do it. I think they can. I think this is a great idea and a niche that hasn't been tapped. And if you see that potential where harmonies need to be in music again, and maybe a banjo or a mandolin or these other varying instruments that have really cool high note, like the registers that those instruments are in, not a lot of people want to go to because not a lot of people can sing in those, and that's fine. You don't have to sing in them. Just be able to write the music accordingly to where we can have that register present without you worrying about having to hit that pocket. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
let's bring back the washerboards and the fucking tin roof shingles and fucking have us a good old
Let's
get some
have a let's have a percussionist. Let's have a secondary percussionist who does varying other things. Give me a rattlesnake. Give me a fucking washboard. I'll take a washboard. If it can make a fucking cool sound that you can fucking do, sure. Give me a
Oh,
tin sheet that you could beat that sounds like fucking lightning.
have you heard the bluegrass current day reboot of Thunderstruck by AC/DC?
I
Where the
did, and
dudes
that is dope. That's an interesting band, but it's that's all I can find by them is that.
is there, I haven't
I
tried
don't
to
even think
look
they're
for
a
it.
band. Like I didn't even think
I
they
think
were
that was a one-off situation.
right.
Right?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to come at with that. It's. I didn't want to put that in there because I actually saw that and wanted to throw that in here with Native Howl because it's a fucking crazy cover that's interesting. But
Yeah.
all right, I'll bonus that one and I'll find that link and throw it in the
That one's a good one.
description for you guys.
That one's at least a fun watch.
Yeah,
'Cause
I'll
that's,
throw that. I'll throw that in the description. But my point here is, guys, and really bringing it all back around, is that harmonics, 2-part, 3-part harmonies, and these other alternating instruments need to be brought back. It's the oldest form of music in America. It's Americana music. Let's bring it back. I mean, it would do well for a lot of rock musicians, I think, if we tried to bring this together. Let's forget about adding the mix, the guy that does the scratching. Okay, let's not add a DJ to every single band. Okay, let's maybe add somebody who can play alternate percussion, like who can throw in an accordion, can throw in a snake, can throw in other things, and some alternate musics, and get some real singers or people that can just. And you don't see, that's the great thing about harmonies. To throw it back, you don't have to be the best singer in the world, because in that sense you're greater than the sum of your parts. That's why you're a backing harmonics. You're backing harmonics because you can hit that note, sustain it with the singer, and let the singer continue onward. That's what your job is, and you make the singer better, you make the song better.
Yeah, that's a great layering aspect that makes it sound more rich and full, and it's pleasing. It's way more pleasing to the ear when you have a nice tight harmonic section.
Far more pleasing than overdubbing. And I think that's what we're doing. We're trying to digitize harmonics, and that's not. I think true harmonics is what we need. True harmonics.
No, we didn't. No, it's nowhere near the same.
All right, we're pushing an hour, brother. We're gonna call that one today. I think,
folks. I hope that you enjoyed this one. This was a great episode. I feel like we talked about a lot about this particular subject, and
definitely took a deep dive here. I'm happy with it. D's happy with it. Look at the smile on that man's face.
I mean, come on, you can't buy this.
You can't buy this. Great talk on music, folks. Please, again, the message is harmonics. Please add in, if you're a band out there, add in 2-part harmonies, add in 3-part harmonies, not overdubbing. And as always, love each other. We'll see you next Sunday. Peace.
Later, everybody.